Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for today's information session on student technology. My name is Jensen-Doray. I serve as the Director of First Year Experience at Bucknell. Really excited to welcoming our new students and our parents and families to campus in the fall. We hope these information sessions are a great resource for you as you prepare for making that transition to life on campus or supporting your student as they make that transition. So we're here today with Bud Hiller from Information Technology, and I will pass things over to Bud to get started.
Great. Thanks, Adrian. Yes, my name is Bud Hiller. I'm the manager of our technology desk here, which is on the first floor of the library. It's easily accessible. It's easy to find, and all the incoming students have a first year orientation program that brings them through the library. So it's a good way for them to get an introduction to the university and also to the tech support services that we provide here. And if they ever have any questions, then we service people walking up, calling, and emailing us all the time, all through the summer, and then of course through the school year. So we're an easy spot. So I've been working at the tech desk for a long time, and we've had lots of questions, lots of changes over the years, lots of things. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. But one thing that a couple of things I wanted to just start off to give kind of an overview picture of some things to make sure that incoming students and their parents are familiar with. We do have, one of the questions we get a lot is about Wi-Fi. We do have Wi-Fi across campus. We have 3 networks. We have our bucknell.edu wireless network, and that's all through the residence halls, a lot of outside areas, and then of course through all the academic buildings. And that's for all the students, faculty, and staff who are here. We have a guest network, which is what you might connect to on move-in day for yourself, where you can connect and get your own connections, but it's not for the students or the faculty or staff to use. And then we have an IoT network, which we use for gaming or smart TVs or other devices like that. So there's 3 different networks that students will see. We have questions about Office. So that's another question we get a lot of questions about. Students don't have to buy Office. We have an agreement with Microsoft so they can use Office 365 for free while they're a student. And one of the things they'll learn about when they come through our library during orientation is we have a knowledge base that has answers to all the questions. It's easy to find. It's just ask, as in ask a question, ask.bucknell.edu. And it has answers to questions like, how do I get Office 365? Or how do I connect to Follow Me Printing on campus? Or how do I access stuff for my smart TV and things like that? So that's what we use to do everything we have questions about. We put in ask, and then we always direct people to ask if they have questions as a first place that they can get contact information. Sometimes we have questions about printers. Most students find they don't need to bring printers. We have printing, black and white printing for free across campus. There's a small charge for color printing, but most students either don't need to print a lot, or they find that the Follow Me printers across campus work fine for their printing needs. And a printer takes up a pretty good chunk of what's not much real estate in their rooms. So when people ask about printers, I usually say, why don't you hold off on bringing printers, see if you really need one, and then maybe if you do later, you could bring one along the way. As far as the rest of their accounts, all the students should have gotten their accounts already. Their accounts, they have a username, and in that username and sign in, we have single sign-on options across campus. So the same thing would log them into everything from Bmail to My Bucknell to Moodle, which is where their course materials are kept. Once they're in My Bucknell, they can access all the things they need to do in residence life, as well as things like Banner for registration. So they do a lot of things through that. And we do protect people with required multi-factor authentication. We use the Duo app here. Many students don't seem to install the Duo app. Instead, they use the text notification, which is way more cumbersome and doesn't work nearly as well or provide as many options. So we strongly encourage people to install the Duo app on their phone and then use the Duo app to send push notifications to that. If they have questions about how to do that, then we're always happy to answer those questions. at the tech desk or through our Ask Knowledge base. So there's a variety of different things. Our tech desk is staffed primarily with students, but also we have staff at the desk all the time. So there's some things that your faculty members will know about, specific software that they might use in labs, some software they might need to install for a class. Some people use something like R for statistical research, or they might install in vivo for a different type of stats, or they might install, they're in engineering, something like SolidWorks for design things. If they're in College of Management, they might use something like Solver, which is an Excel add-in, but all of that software can be installed once they're here. There's no need to install anything in advance or buy anything in advance before they come here. And then, like I said, we're primarily staffed with students during all of our open hours, which of course are all through the week as well as on the weekends. So there's a lot of support that's available for students when they come here. So that's an overview of the services that we provide and answer some of the questions that we get frequently. I don't know if people have other questions that they might have, or if there's anything that Adrian might want to suggest that people might want to know about. Happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure I could come up with a few frequently asked questions, but I'll give the folks who are here first a quick chance to chime in. So feel free to either unmute yourself and ask your question or type your question into the chat box and we can answer your questions that way. And in the meantime, I guess while you're thinking of questions or typing them, but I know sometimes we hear from families or students wondering, is a particular type of computer or laptop, specifically thinking Windows or Mac, is there any recommendation there?
So it's a good question. The only specific recommendation is from the Freeman College of Management. Their faculty request that their students use Windows machines. That's a good question. The best computer for Freeman students that they should use, they request their students to use Windows machines because there is some specific software that's Windows only and it's in required classes. And it's frustrating for the students and it's frustrating for the faculty members when people say, so I have this Mac that I've used all through high school and I really like Macs and I want to use Macs. And they say, well, that's just great, but you're in an accounting class and you need to use this Windows only software. And then, so in essence, they have to go to a lab and use a lab machine somewhere. It's not necessarily good for the students, and it's definitely not good for the faculty member who gets a little frustrated with that. There's not a particular type of Windows machine. I saw your question, Anthony, about a type of machine. We have lots of students who use Dell, Lenovo, HP. We support all of them the same as far as software goes. We used to have a specific laptop program where we did hardware support for certain models, but that's changed as computer manufacturing has changed over the years, as well as our staffing. For the most part, the standard 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabyte hard drive with an i5 processor is a very standard thing. That's what a lot of people use. If somebody wants to get something a little bit more powerful, like a 16 gigabytes of RAM, maybe an i7 processor, that's a possibility, but we don't have a specific recommendation. Just for Freeman, it would definitely be one of some of the solid machines, or there's XPS machines from Dell, Lenovo ThinkPads, and I think HP has a couple of different models. They have a Spectre model and some other models, but there's usually the consumer level $500, $700 computers, and then there's ones that cost a little bit more, and the reason they cost a little bit more are like the ThinkPad line or the Latitude XPS line from Dell are more of a business level and built of a little higher quality, but also designed to be easier to work on in case you do need to send something off. And you also have different warranty options. We do talk a lot about warranty options because we don't have a lot of computer repair shops here in Lewisburg. It's a small town. It's not like you're going to school in Brooklyn or something like that. So there's warranty options that both Dell, Lenovo, HP, they all offer a variety of different warranties. The standard warranty that comes with most laptops is just a year, and it's just for parts. And it doesn't cover anything like accidental damage or drops or spills. But all of the Windows manufacturers like that offer, for Dell, it's called complete care or accidental damage. ThinkPad protection is what Lenovo has, and they cover things like you can extend it up to 3 years or 4 years, and it covers things like drops and spills, which are something we run across a fair amount. It's almost always the roommate. It's never the person. They'll always come in and say, my roommate spilled coffee all over my laptop, or something odd happened. One student dropped their laptop out of a second-story window, and we wondered how that happened until they said, well, they fell asleep on the bed was next to the window was open, they rolled over in bed. But if you have complete care, then you can contact Dell or Lenovo or whoever, and it's covered, and usually they ship you a box and you ship in the laptop, and then they get it back, and usually it's really quick, within a week or so. And we have loaners at our equipment desk, which covers loaning of all kinds of things, everything from iPads and laptops to cameras and microphones that they might need for class. Of course, there's no charge for any of that, and that's open to all the students. Does that help to answer your question, Anthony? Great. I should definitely mention that our equipment desk is on the first floor of the library, and like I said, it has everything from some people take classes that require all kinds of video equipment. We have a video labs across campus, and there's, obviously students aren't going to be required to buy a $3,000 camera. There's also things like projectors and screens that people can borrow. There's things as low level as a charger to use while they're in the library. They can borrow to, like I said, high-end laptops or something like that. So if they do have a problem with their laptop and they need to borrow a laptop for a couple of weeks, then we can help them by accommodating them with that. So that's a strong service that we have. But sometimes people wonder about Macs or Windows, and I'd say we have across campus probably maybe something like 70% Macs across campus. There's a lot of Macs. A lot of students are familiar with Macs that they use in high school, and most of the times that works just fine for them. There are a few times, like I said, and some software is Windows only, and then they can either work around through one of our 1,000 computers that are in labs across campus. Most of them are Windows machines, or they can sometimes they can work around it in other ways.
That was really helpful, but I know thinking about repairs and loaners, that's always top of mind for students and families, as well as they're thinking about making sure that they have reliable access to technology while they're here on campus. Earlier, you had mentioned the different Wi-Fi networks and thinking about that IoT and the Internet of Things network for smart devices and things. Do you have any advice on maybe specific devices that either should not be brought to campus? Maybe thinking about things that might not have full functionality here?
Yes, that's a good question. Wow, that's a very good question, Adrian. There's a couple of things that won't work at all on campus. One of them is wireless printers. Because of security concerns, there's specific issues with wire. There's a lot of things that are different about a network like Bucknell or any sort of institutional network that makes it different from your home network. And wireless printing, the way that it operates, causes a security concern across campus. So they just will not work at all. They'll always work if you have a USB connection cable. And so if somebody was going to bring a printer, a private personal inkjet printer or something to campus, an inkjet or laser, it would work with the USB connection just fine, but it wouldn't work with wireless. The other things that don't work over wireless are Google Home devices, Google Chromecast, and Sonos speakers. Because of the way those are written, the way that they operate, most of them are controlled by the phone, and the phone will never connect to the IoT network because we have security in place for that. But all of those devices will never connect to the EDU network So they'll never be on the same network. Like in your house, they work great because everything's on the same network. But in an institution here, they won't work. So that was Google Home, Google Chromecast, and the Sonos speakers. Other items are fine. They can connect. The problem, the reason those devices, most devices won't connect to EDU is because we have we don't just have a network that's a password like you might have at home. We have a network that's an enterprise level network that works off of your Bucknell credentials, your Bucknell username and password, and very few consumer devices can authenticate with that type of authentication. So that's why they won't connect directly to EDU, and that's why. And there's also a few devices that we've had kind of random devices over the year. There was a guy last year who wanted to connect some sort of robo vacuum thing, and that did not connect. We told him he just had to sweep his room out. One time somebody had a series of lights that acted as an alarm clock that he tried to connect to the network, and that also didn't connect. Most things though connect just fine. But we can't say that everything under the sun will connect because there's a lot of things under the sun. So that's why the IoT network works really well for most people. All the streaming, all of the streaming stuff like Netflix and everything like that, as well as gaming. There are a few people who've can also, we have wired network ports, one port per person in the rooms. They're not necessarily connected, but we can connect them if for some reason somebody has an issue with the wireless. We found for the most part, though, we've done so much over the years to expand our wireless network. It's incredible the difference from just a couple of years ago. When we first had wireless stuff, we had wireless access points in the hallways, and so you'd see all these students out in the hallway, just sitting on the floor in the hallway outside their rooms trying to get a connection. And then we went to every room, every other room, and now it's a completely different type of network, but we have very strong wireless coverage across campus now. And a number, one of the things that happened during COVID was we expanded our number of outdoor spaces. And then we've kept those outdoor spaces, places like between the library and Academic West, and also down outside of the biology building. There's huge open air access points covered with electrical outlets as well as wireless signals for people to be outside. And they've expanded that to the quad right in front of the library, and then most of the other places across campus. So there's a lot of outdoor spaces that also have a really good wireless connection. So that works out really well. And I think that if there are issues with specific rooms, then our network team is quick to respond. If somebody has an issue with their particular room, then going through us at the tech desk, then we can assign tickets to our network group, and usually they're very quick about responding and trying to figure out what the issue is and getting it resolved.
If anyone else has questions, again, feel free to type them into the chat or unmute, and Bud will do his best to answer them. He's a wealth of knowledge here.
Sure. We're doing a lot of work in the library this summer, so it'll be really interesting when the students do arrive. The whole reference area is being redone, and the whole library cafe is being redone. The library cafe is right next to the tech desk, so that's usually how people get introduced to the tech desk. If not during orientation, then they come for coffee and they go, oh, look at these nice people right here. So that works out really well. They're also replacing all the windows on the outside of the library here. So I had to choose a room today to work in that wasn't currently being worked on by the construction crews. They're doing that, as well as replacing the roof in Von Litt, which is right outside the library. So the center of campus has a lot of construction right this summer. That'll all be finished up in early August. And then right about the same time, the new Bucknell West mods will be opening up, and I think it's later in the summer or later in the fall, maybe in October or something like that, is when that new athletic building will be opened up down by the football stadium. So there's a number of different construction things that are going on here in the library. But those should be finished by the time students arrive.
Yeah, so a lot of new and exciting developments and facilities, and certainly some improvements within the library and in the tech space as well. So that's great. Thinking about just getting students into that space, Bud had mentioned that during orientation, first year and transfer students all have an opportunity to go through the library and learn not only, learn all of the different resources and supports that are there. That's a program that we call Library Unbound, and the library and IT folks do a wonderful job opening up the library. It's a really fun, engaging event. They have a balloon artist and usually a photo booth and music and snacks, so there's a lot of fun around the learning and really just getting students comfortable going into that space. Something that our library colleagues often talk about is just that shift to sort of a college library environment can be very different from a high school library environment, where it's maybe there's a reference source, but not necessarily a place that is a gathering space as well, and a place where students can come and hang out and socialize and eat and drink, and get all of their resources and questions answered as well. So our library really offers comprehensive services between the cafe, the tech desk, and then all of the library resources as well. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So certainly you can reach out to Bud and to the tech desk at any time after this throughout the summer. And then we will have folks from Library and Information Technology and our tech desk available on move-in day as well on August 16th when everyone gets to campus, so they can answer any questions about connecting to our networks that day. And then we'll have time during orientation to help students get familiar with services and understand where they can go and how they can access help and support if and when they need it.
I think the only other thing I would add is our email address is techdesk@Bucknell. So if you have questions and you just think about it later on, or you want to follow up with something, that's the best email to use. It goes to us, and of course we check it all day long. And like I said, our Ask Knowledge base is ask.bucknell.edu. So that's where people go to answer questions. But if you want to just send something directly, then Tech Desk at Bucknell is the best way to communicate with us and ask whatever technology related questions you might have. Thanks very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bud. Have a great day, everyone.
Great. Thanks. You bet.